It's our first event of 2024. It's coming up on Thursday night. So we are going to be at Tiffin J's in Lee's Summit. So post Super Bowl parade hangover, join us out there at 6 p.m. Thursday night, Tiffin J's in Lee's Summit. You got to RSVP at kcmotalkradio.com. It's the first thing you'll see on the homepage. And we'll be joined by a guy who wants to be the next governor of Missouri. He's Bill Eigel, state senator from the other side of the state, joining us now on KCMO. Bill, good morning. Great to have you here, and we're counting it down. We're looking forward to Thursday.
Hey, Pete, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it, too. I was told this morning there's already more than 100 folks have RSVP'd, so this looks like this is going to be a pretty big event, so I can't wait. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about, when we get there on Thursday, how we finished up passing IP reform out of the Senate this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's still some spots available, but you got to get in now and RSVP at kcmotalkradio.com. We are almost at capacity for this event. So you guys are actually getting some things done there in the Senate after some bumpy moments there a couple of weeks ago. You mentioned IP. That's tell people what that is, of course, and why that is important to them and why they should care.
So for most folks that are watching politics at all, they know that right now there are some pro-abortion folks and groups that are trying to enshrine the institution of abortion all the way to birth back in the Missouri Constitution using the initiative petition process where they go out, they collect a bunch of signatures, and then with 50+1% of the vote in an election can enshrine it into the founding document of the state. So we are actually working on a reform bill right now that we would submit to the voters before the abortion petition gets to voters that asks them, hey, in order to change the founding document of the state, we think that a little bit more broad consensus of the population is required instead of just a simple 50+1% majority. So what we're proposing in particular is that in addition to having a simple majority of 50+1% overall, you also have to have a majority of the congressional districts, the 8 congressional districts, vote yes. And that will make sure that you can't just change the founding document of the state by running up huge margins in Kansas City and St. Louis City, which tend to be far more liberal than most of the outstate portions of Missouri. And so it's going to require a much greater consensus if we're going to change the founding document of the state. I think that's a great way to go. Republicans have embraced this idea and have been trying to pass this for the past 2 years. And really, the only reason we haven't is because our leadership have kind of found reasons or ways not to get this done. And so the Freedom Caucus, as you mentioned, Pete, has been causing a ruckus and making our leadership very uncomfortable for the past few weeks, trying to get initiative petition reform to the Senate floor. Well, finally, yesterday, it made it to the Senate floor. It was debated for about 6 hours. We're going to go back to it this morning, and I'm optimistic we're going to get this bill done and send it over to the House so we can get it in front of the people as soon as possible.
Well, that would be great. Now, one thing you tweeted here in the last couple of days, government has never had so much of your money. Government is drunk on your money. It's past time to eliminate the person property tax in Missouri. What is, is that a realistic option, and how much money would that save the average Missourian?
Well, I tell you what, it is absolutely realistic. The average Missourian is spending between $500 and $600 every December 1st, just because in Missouri you have to pay rent on your car in the form of personal property tax to government for the crime of owning a car. So 29 other states have already gotten rid of this tax. The value of all personal property tax bills on all citizens and all businesses in all counties of the state is about $1.7 billion. Well, our surpluses at the state right now, our growth in revenues at the state right now is more than that figure. In fact, we've increased state spending by more than $20 billion just in the past few years. So I'm fond of saying that of all the problems we have in Missouri, none of them have to do with government not getting enough of your cash. They all have to do with the fact that government does a terrible job spending your cash. So we need to get, and as a caveat, Pete, I've never met a tax I wasn't willing to cut. So yes, we got to get rid of personal property tax. That's part of my plan. That's part of my vision. But we also got to get rid of income tax. We need to start competing with the Texases and the Floridas and the Tennessees that have already figured out that if you want to be economically prosperous and you want growth to come to your state, you can't tax your population into oblivion, which is what we're doing here.
Last thing in the next minute here, Bill Eigel. Of course, the Chiefs are all the talk right now. Big parade tomorrow. I know you put out a tweet saying, hey, remember, the Chiefs are in Missouri, not in Kansas. If you were governor, and the Chiefs came to you and said, hey, you got a little something for us here, where do you draw that line if they start pitting states against each other for, monies for potentially stadium upgrades?
Listen, I think that the Missouri I'm talking about, is going to be a place where not just the Kansas City Chiefs and other sports teams want to base themselves out of to take advantage of the economic opportunity here. But the reality is, if we have to compete with Kansas, I think Missouri is going to do very well, especially once we get rid of personal property tax and income tax, and I think that conversation takes care of itself. So, no, I generally, kind of to your point, I'm not a big fan at all of trying to offer special incentives to any particular group or corporation. I think the environment that we can create just on the founding principles of the Republican Party are going to make sure that the Kansas City Chiefs and other sports teams never even consider leaving the state of Missouri, and we're going to have a lot more Super Bowl victories to come in the near future.
All right, Bill Eigel, we will see you on Thursday night out in Lee's Summit. Have a great day, and we'll see you in a couple days.
Thanks, Pete. Talk soon.
All right. That is Bill Eigel on KCMO, RSVP for our Politics in a Pint, Tiff and Jay's and Lee's Summit, 6 p.m. this Thursday, KCMOtalkradio.com. It's filling up fast, only a couple of spots left.